I wanted to oil paint since I was very small, and my parents rightfully did not let me do that. My mom got me acrylics at one point, and later I got some oil paints, and they were very, very, very cheap. They were terrible. As a maybe 15, 16-year-old, my mom got me some student grade paints, and I don't know that I really used them until I had a friend who had actually had someone at school teach them how to do some oil painting, walk me through my first real oil painting. And I painted on and off for quite a long time, and then I didn't for over a decade due to chronic illness and a bunch of other stuff. In the last couple of years, I realized I really wanted to get back into that like desperate excitement that I had as a kid was still there. A couple years ago, I got a set of Winsor Newton's Artisan line, the water-soluble oil paints, and I did my first painting with that this year. I was already in the process of preparing to oil paint again, but doing that really lit the fire under me, and I enjoyed every second of that painting. So I'm really excited to dive back in with some non-water soluble oil paints, some original oil paints as it were. I dug out my own student grade paints, and I also dug out my grandma's paint box that I inherited after she passed away. I didn't think the paint was usable at first, and then I did some more research. So come with me today while I take you on a tour of my grandma's paint box, and I go through the process of reviving paint that has not been used for 30 years or more. My name is Anna. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm so glad you're here to join me today on this cool oil painting prep vlog. Without further ado, my grandma's box. First, I'm going to show you what's in the box, and then I'll show you her paintings. First up is this paint thinner, which I don't think you can get this specific product any longer. Then we have this liquid painting medium, which looks very, very different now. Then we have this Grumbacher linseed oil. I cannot open this bottle, and I just decided that that's okay. It also looks very different now. I prefer the vintage look. This is just a little glass jar for turpentine with my grandma's handwriting on it. This little tin is something I might clean out and use in the future. It's pretty neat, actually. This London oil color is what is now Winton oil color, Winsor Newton's student grade line. This is Liquitex, and most of the tubes my grandma has are Grumbacher. I really love the look of these paint tubes. They don't look like this anymore, and again, I prefer the vintage look. All of my grandma's brushes are Grumbacher as well. She must have really liked the brand. I don't know, but this box is really cool, and the brushes are quite pretty. Her old pencil, this really cool old bag from Winsor & Newton. This is a receipt for painting lessons, $15 for 4 lessons. I was really sad that whoever wrote the receipt didn't include 1994. It was just 19. I will never know exactly what year my grandma bought these lessons. I know she didn't write this receipt because her name is spelled wrong. And this is her handwriting. It looks like notes from her class on an advertising sheet for more classes at the community school. Just some blue rags, and then this really cool Grumbacher oil colors poster and information pamphlet. It's in amazing condition. Without further ado, let's see her paintings. I don't know why there's splotches all over it, but this color mixing canvas is really cool. A painting of one of her plants, I would guess. Like me, she loved houseplants. And cats. This is Kitty's Mickens. Here is an unfinished landscape. And here's a finished landscape. I love this because I know she loved autumn colors, and so this painting is just very her. I would like to varnish and frame this one of these days. If anyone has any suggestions or tips or advice for doing that, let me know. Thanks! One more thing. I've had this palette for a while. I only realized recently that it was handmade, and my grandfather did woodworking. So he handmade this for my grandma. I love the patina on it. I love using this palette, and I love that she used it too. I love having something that both of their hands worked with. Next up, opening oil color tubes that were stubborn. The London oil color I did get open, but the paint was not in great shape. I cleared out the yucky, gunky stuff at the top of the tubes that were icky, and this was a delicate process that I probably could have done differently or better, but I was going on very little information and just doing my best. And it turned out pretty good in the end, and was a really delightful experience. I will only be showing you about 2% of this process because it took me a very, very, very long time. It was fiddly and it made a massive mess. But the results were extremely worth it. It's hard to see in the video, but there was a lot of rust and metal from the top of the tubes deteriorating over time. But look at this gorgeous paint. I checked up on my student grade paint too, as it had not been used in years, and realized that my mom got me the same brand that my grandma used. Given how long they've been sitting, I'm pretty impressed and would recommend them. The black tube I managed to get open, as you'll see. The white tube, not so much. I tried and tried, but this lid is super hard to grip and it just wouldn't budge. I tried hot water and fire and various tools, but this one came open. I tried for a week to get this tube open. It became the bane of my existence for a little while. Nothing against the paint, but this lid design isn't great. Other than one exploded cap from the student grade paint and some holes in the tubes of my grandma's paint, everything was looking up. I was getting much closer to being ready to actually use all of this. I put the various exploded tubes and holy tubes in tight baggies and plastic wrap to await brand new empty tubes. Here is a peek back in time at my oil paintings. This is the very first one I did with very bad, cheap paint. This one might be acrylic, and none of these have been taken care of very well. This was my horse captain. A landscape. Probably one of the few finished paintings I've done. I have a goal now to finish things. This is Drusilla. This is the house I pretty much grew up in. And the painting has cats. This was a painting I did of my friend's horse. I never finished it, and it's got some, I think, fatty acid migration. I might redo this one day. An unfinished landscape. I think there was going to be a waterfall. This was a painting of me and my horses. I never finished it, obviously, but I really like the clouds still and the concept of the reflection. Some horses. Not much to say about this one, but I like the rusty red color in the dirt. Here's my first ever real oil painting. My horse captain. I'm glad to say I finished this one. Still really pleased with it, despite it definitely not being perfect. Here's an actual scan of the painting. Here's a little peek of the water-soluble oil painting that I did in the middle of all this prep. I did a video of this painting, and it should have come up last week, so you should definitely go and check that out. The cow thing is a joke. You'll understand if you watch the video. Like I said earlier, I really enjoyed doing this painting, and I had a lot of help. She did this for 5 solid minutes, and I still enjoy floor painting. Moving oil paint to new tubes was a scary adventure and a really messy one, despite all my best efforts. Still, I'm really glad I did it, and it was successful, eventually. I did this with a couple of the grumbacher tubes because they had holes in them that were quite big. I had to cut open this Liquitex tube and the Winton tube because I could not get the caps open. In the end, I'm really glad I did, and here's the finished product. I realized when doing my cow painting that my brushes were a disaster, and I didn't even know where all of my oil brushes were. So I set about organizing them, which included my watercolor brushes, and I'm really, really glad I did this. I have a lot more brushes than I thought I did. I was honestly shocked once I had them all out. My oil painting brushes I sorted into the type of brush for the most part, and I went and got some dollar store jars so that I could put them in jars, and I put them in a basket so they're super easy to pull off my shelf and move around wherever I set up my easel. I also got my grandma's brushes out. I feel like she'd want me to use them, so they have their own jar. I like having them separate so I know that they're her brushes. And here they all are on the shelf. I think they look gorgeous, honestly. And I'm a sucker for organization. I nerd out over organized stuff. And here I leave you with the pre-prep of my first oil painting in 10 years, which will be done with my grandma's paint and probably some of my student grade paint. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel, like this video, and leave me a comment. I would love to hear about what art you're working on and if you have tried oil painting or are an oil painter. Thank you so much for watching. I hugely appreciate it. I will see you next time.